What is up, everyone? It is me, Dan, here, and today I am here with my top 10 films of 2017. 2017 has been a great year for films. I've had some really anticipated movies released this year, some films that really surprised me, and films that, let's be honest, I hate, but we're not going to mention them on this list. This list is all positive vibes, and we're going to be talking about the 10 films that stood out the most to me this year. Now, before we get into this list, I have to stress this is my personal opinion, and this list will simply be based on a number of factors: the film's quality, its memorability, and how much it stands out compared to its competitors on this list. And one last thing to mention is I'm going to go through some honorable mentions. These are films that just missed out on going into the top 10, but I would still recommend to go and watch or buy on Blu-ray if you have the opportunity to do so. Thor Ragnarok. I really enjoyed this film. It's easily the best Thor movie in the Marvel MCU. It was a really different take on the Thor character. I thought Taika Waititi did a great job directing this movie. It was easily one of the funniest Marvel films. It was just such a breath of fresh air, and I think the Thor franchise, considering his first two really bland solo movies, it really needed this kick up the backside. The Lego Batman movie. The Lego movie was a really fun film. It was a film that I really thought was going to be bang average, and it was really surprisingly great, and I really enjoyed the Lego Batman movie. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it as much as the Lego movie, but I think it really did a good job, not just parodying Batman, but doing probably a better job of understanding Batman than the DCEU, which is crazy to think about it. This film really got to the core of who Batman was, and I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed it. It Comes at Night. This was a really divisive film. Critics loved this film, audiences hated it. I really enjoyed It Comes at Night. I thought it was a very surprising film. Joel Edgerton gave a great performance in here, probably one of the best I've ever seen from him, and the atmosphere this film builds up is fantastic. If you love horror movies, definitely watch this one, but definitely avoid the trailers because they really do a poor job of marketing this film. And lastly, we have The Disaster Artist. This was a film that was very close to making it into the top 10. But the fact that it didn't make the top 10 doesn't take away from the fact that this was a truly amazing film, and definitely one of the biggest surprises of the year. James Franco as Tommy Wiseau was fantastic. The jokes really did land, and for anybody who is a fan of The Room or just documentaries on filmmaking, then I think you will really appreciate this movie. And so with those honorable mentions, we're going to be heading into the top 10 films of 2017, kicking off, of course, at number 10. So at number 10, we have War for the Planet of the Apes, which is such a misleading title because this film isn't necessarily about war. It's a very slow-paced movie for its title, and I really enjoyed it. I thought this film was a very brilliant showcase at showing how good the ape characters in this prequel Planet of the Apes franchise are. I thought Andy Serkis was phenomenal as Caesar, and it's such a shame that this guy isn't going to get nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor, because if it were up to me, I would definitely nominate him. He's fantastic in this film. All of the ape characters in this film are great. Even the human characters you get to understand really well. Woody Harrelson in this film was really good, and when the film does do action, it is done very well. And this is the movie for me that makes me excited to see what Matt Reeves can do with his solo standalone Batman film, which is coming out in a few years' time, because if it's anything like the quality of this film, I'm definitely in for it. At number 9, we have Lady Bird. Lady Bird, for me, was quite a surprising film. This was a film that I saw a lot of critics saying was really good, so I went ahead and watched it with my dad, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very different kind of film. Just the way that it was shot, a female director, who I will mention, she did a great job directing this film, and the way that this film is structured, for example, the way that it picks up in conversations halfway through, and just the overall sense of style of it, I thought it was very well done. It was just such a breath of fresh air of a film, and it's definitely one that I think has gone very unnoticed. I mean, definitely not in terms of awards, but I think in terms of general audiences. So I would say if you're looking for, a good coming-of-age story with, a mother and daughter relationship thrown in there, I think it's a very good film, very enjoyable, and definitely deserves the nominations that it's getting. At number 8, we have a film that I really didn't think I was going to put on this list at the start of 2017, and that is It. I really like this remake. I thought it was a fantastic adaptation of the book. Of course, I've already done a review for this film, so if you do want to go and check it out, I will leave a link in the description down below to my review for the film. But I'm just going to rephrase it here. This was a great adaptation. The child actors in this film were fantastic. Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, for me, outperformed Tim Curry as Pennywise. He was just phenomenal in this film. The directing, the lighting, The score by Benjamin Wallfish, who is easily becoming one of my favourite composers in recent memory. He's just, everything about this film was fantastic. And I know there are people out there who were disappointed with this film, but if you go into this movie expecting just a pure horror film, you will be let down. If you go into this movie expecting just a really good, you know, in a way, a weird coming-of-age story, you know, about the loss of innocence, you know, the emergence of adulthood, and just that whole aspect of it, I thought was fantastic. It was very well handled, and for me, this is easily one of the best horror movies to release in recent memory. I really enjoyed it. Even if you're a horror fan or not, I think you will find something to really like about this film, so it deserves its spot on the list. At number 7, we have the triumphant send-off for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine with Logan. This was a film that I was really looking forward to. James Mangold returning to direct from The Wolverine, a film that I really did like up until that third act. But this film was amazing. Of course, it was rated R, it was brutal, it was really gritty and down to earth. And for me, this is easily the best X-Men movie, you know, pre the Disney deal with Fox. And for me, this was just the Wolverine movie I have wanted for so long. You know, just the tone it went for, this whole Western vibe that it had. I thought, like I said, Hugh Jackman nailed it as Wolverine. Patrick Stewart as Professor X, amazing. Daphne Keane as X-23, fantastic. And even the villains to some extent, even though maybe slightly underdeveloped, I thought gave good performances. And just in general, this film was just a brilliant journey. You know, this journey of Logan, Professor X, and X-23 across the United States. I thought it was a fantastic film. I really enjoyed it and really did stand out. And yeah, I'm not the first to admit that I was in tears by the end of this film. And it was just such a roller coaster of an experience. And definitely a film that you should watch. At number 6, we have Wind River. Now, this comes to us from the writer of Sicario and Hell or High Water, two films that I really did like, but I was skeptical about how he would direct this film. It turned out great. Great performances by Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen, who are, of course, in the MCU together. This whole film and the mystery surrounding it was just so well done. Some of the cinematography and some of the locations are absolutely beautiful. The snowy setting was just something so different from other films that we've seen this year. And I thought the characters were very well written, the relationships and how they intertwine and how the whole mystery plays out was really well done. A very surprising film. Surprisingly not talked about all that much here in the UK this year, and very surprised because it was a really enjoyable film. This proves to me that Tyler Sheridan is easily becoming one of the best writers and potentially even directors emerging today. I just love this film that much. At number 5, we have Baby Driver. This was, of course, Edgar Wright's first film in about 4 years, which was quite the wait, but my god was it worth it, because I loved Baby Driver. The whole style of this film has been this pseudo musical. Everything moves in motion with the music that is going through our main character's head was brilliant. Just the style this film had, it had the structure to back it up as well. It didn't feel like it was overwhelming with style or overwhelming with structure. It got that perfect balance between the two. Ansel Elgort as Baby was fantastic. You really cared about his character, and his relationship with Lily James's character was really well written, and you did care about it. The action scenes were fantastic, considering this film didn't have the highest of budgets, and when you have a cast like John Hamm, John Bernthal, Jamie Foxx, they were all great in this film. I really enjoyed them. This for me was a very good surprise hit, and it proves to me why Edgar Wright is one of the best directors, in my opinion, working today. At number 4, we have Jordan Peele's directorial debut in Get Out. I don't think anybody expected the film to be as great as it was. This, for me, is just such a perfect blend of so many genres that, in a way, the best way to sum it up is, as Peele says, a documentary. It blends horror, it blends subtext about racial rights in America. Everything that is in this film is so well done, and the way it transitions between its themes is phenomenal. The performances in here were downright creepy at times and really got that sense of dread and tension that the film wanted, and it was so well done. And the whole final act was just so surprising, but in such a great way. It really did stand out. I think this is easily probably the best horror movie to release in the past decade or so. It was just that impressive to me, and I absolutely can't wait to see what Jordan Peele does next. And this film was just so surprisingly funny as well, even with all this dark stuff that was going on. It had this levity about it, which was just so amazing to see, and it really did stand out. And I think this is a film that's probably going to top a lot of people's lists for the best film of 2017, and For me, it's definitely deserving the number 4 spot because it was just such a great experience in the cinema, and I still haven't got this film on Blu-ray, but count me on it. I will definitely be getting it come Christmas. At number 3, we have Dunkirk, which was, of course, Christopher Nolan's latest film. I really liked this film. I wasn't the biggest fan of it when I first watched it, of course, as with It, I did a review for this film, so if you want to go check that out, link will be in the description. But I gave the film, I think, about a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. But for me, right now, after watching it again, I would honestly bump up that score if it was a 9 to maybe a 9.5 or even higher, because I really enjoyed this film on the second time. This film is not about the people in Dunkirk. It is solely about the event and the horrific things that happened in there. And for me, that choice of filmmaking was so well done. The practical effects here are some of the best I've ever seen. They are absolutely amazing. The cinematography is great. The performances, even with limited dialogue, were so great. This was really a film where all the actors really didn't have to act with their voice, but rather act with their facial expressions, with the body movements, with how they reacted to stuff. It was so well done in this film, and it really surprised me with how well done this film was as a whole. As a concept, it really was a film that could have failed for Nolan, but for me, it just succeeded in so many areas, and I think this film is going to storm a lot of nominations at the Oscars in terms of its visual effects, its practical effects, its score. I think it's going to sweep quite a lot of them because this film really was an experience. Now, these top 2 films for me were very, very close to me. One is a film of a franchise that I really love, and the other one is a sequel to an original film that I deem almost a masterpiece. But for me, I had to end up putting it down to which film for me stood out this year more, which film affected me more when I watched it this year in the cinema. And then for me, it ended up becoming clear which film was going to end up at the number 1 spot. So coming in at number 2 is going to be Star Wars The Last Jedi. Now, I understand this film has been very divisive among a lot of Star Wars fans. There are people out there who really liked The Last Jedi, like me, but there are a lot of people that really didn't like it. All I will say with this film is it does take risks that I think other Star Wars movies would never have even touched. But for me, I applaud those risks because they most definitely paid off in this film. And the way this film was done, all the tones that it had, I thought it was very well constructed. The only small gripe I really had with the film was a subplot that they had that was only about 30 minutes long. For me, that's the only fault I could find with this film that really subtracted, you know, in my enjoyment from the film, because I really enjoyed it. The cinematography was amazing. I mean, this is Rian Johnson we're talking about here. This is the guy who's directed the best episode of Breaking Bad in Ozymandias and directed Looper. Some great films, and it really shines through here. He's just so great, especially with the script that he wrote as well. I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed it. It was just great how it had some subtle callbacks to the other films, but it felt new in what it did. And for me, that was the thing that stood out the most. And that, for me, is the reason that it takes the number 2 spot on this list and above so many other films, because it just took so many risks, and for me, they just paid off. And even though this might be number 2, and in my 2015 Best of the Year list, I probably would have put The Force Awakens at number 1, this film, for me, outshines The Force Awakens in almost every single area, and is, in my opinion, a better movie. So don't take anything away from its ranking on this list. The Last Jedi is a great movie, and I would definitely recommend you watch it. If you're a Star Wars fan and you're a bit skeptical because of all the reviews, don't listen to them. Watch this film, formulate your own opinion, because in my opinion, this film is freaking amazing. And then, of course, we have the number 1 spot, which was a film that I really was skeptical for. This was my most anticipated movie of the year, surprisingly enough, in front of The Last Jedi, which I didn't think would be possible, but I was really excited for this film. I loved the original. It was a fantastic sci-fi movie, and like I said, even though I was so excited for this, I was so skeptical because I was worried that it would tarnish the legacy and reputation that original film had. But when I came out of this film the first time, I was so gobsmacked by what I saw, and I ended up going to see it another 2 times, and I've never done that with a film before. And for me, that was the power that the number 1 film on this list had, and that film for me was Blade Runner 2049. In my opinion, this film isn't just a masterpiece. It is quite possibly one of the best films I've ever seen. I was just so floored with this film. It's cinematography by Roger Deakins, who I will say, if he doesn't win the Oscar for best cinematography, then the world is truly broken, because this film looks beautiful. Just the directing by Denis Villeneuve, who's proven himself beforehand with films like Arrival, Prisoners, Enemy, Sicario. The writing by Hampton Fisher and Michael Green was fantastic. The subtleness in the film was amazing. Ryan Gosling in this film. I have watched La La Land, but for me, this is his best performance. He was fantastic in this film as Officer K. Harrison Ford gives the best performance of his career, in my opinion, as Rick Deckard in this film. Sylvia Hoeks as Love, phenomenal. I would love to see her get a supporting actress nomination, even though it probably won't happen. Ana de Armas was great. Dave Bautista was fantastic. The film in itself, it's 2.5 hours long, but I was captivated throughout the whole thing. I didn't stare down at my watch once in all 3 viewings of this film because of how amazing it was. It's just truly an experience, and for me it is a masterpiece because I just couldn't find any flaws with this film that made me say, oh, I didn't really enjoy it, or it was a bit boring. No, I didn't have those problems because I loved this film, and you can bet your ass that I'm getting this film on Blu-ray day one when it comes out because I just fell in love with this film. It is truly phenomenal. Even with the visuals alone, it's worth it. But with the whole story and the characters and the world behind it, it makes it so much more than most films that have come out this year. And that, for me, was why when I went down to it and I was thinking about it, that's why this film for me was such a clear film of the year. Because no film affected me emotionally or personally as much as Blade Runner 2049. For me, that is the reason that it gets on the #1 spot. So yeah, Blade Runner 2049 is my movie of 2017.
Your story isn't over yet. There's still a page left.
So that is it for my top 10 favourite films of 2017. Of course, let me know what yours are in the comment section down below. And with that being said, I would like to thank you all very much for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, give this video a like, and I'll hope to see you again next time.